Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. So here we are, 1 million subscribers. You might be asking, why is there not a special video about this? Well, it kind of landed at the wrong time. March is a really busy month for me. We're going to talk a little bit about that in this vlog, but we'll also discuss the whole million subscriber thing. Not feeling so great today, so don't expect a massive amount of enthusiasm, not that you ever get that from me anyway. But I've always felt that these arbitrary milestones for subscribers are kind of weird, because I feel that subscribers, at least the count anyway, is significantly overvalued as a metric on YouTube. Yeah, subscribing doesn't really matter all that much. There's actually an awful lot of channels which are essentially dead channels, which have massive subscriber counts, and yet whenever they put out a new video, they barely get any views on it. Subscriber count for a channel like this isn't relevant at all, really, and there's two reasons for that. One, I've got a lot of old subscribers from, say, the WoW era that just don't watch me anymore but didn't bother to unsub, and then there's people that subscribe for particular things and not for other things. So you'll see some of my videos get like 500,000 views, maybe even more than that, and then some like Content Patch only get about 100,000 a day. And that's totally fine. I think that's kind of the essence of a variety gaming channel. If you're not doing the same thing all the time, then you can't expect the same number of viewers. Yogscast is very similar there. You know, they've got so many subscribers, a huge amount. It's what, 3.5 million now? And yeah, actually, never mind. They went over 4 million. Wow, that's actually incredible. But whenever they do anything that's not Minecraft, the number of viewers they actually get is pretty low in comparison to what they would get for any of the Minecraft content. So, as you can see, subscriber count kind of doesn't matter that much, and that's almost unfortunate to some degree, because I think it takes all of the fun out of celebrating those counts. I feel that view count is probably something that you should celebrate, or number of videos made, or something like that. But this is usually the time when a lot of channels like to turn around and basically make a video that's going to make them a bunch of money, and they do so by thanking their subscribers and all that kind of stuff. Definitely nothing wrong with that. But I can definitely see why a lot of channels make those milestone videos, because they usually get more views on average. You might think, oh god, TotalBiscuit's so business-minded in this regard, and he just obsesses over analytics. Yeah, you're kind of right, we do. You know, this is how the business runs. We're consistently trying to improve the channel, and we do so mostly through analyzing statistics and things like that, rather than anything else. But I wish I could have come up with something cool. I mean, I had a few ideas about what I could do for my million subscriber video. I was considering a big stream and so on and so forth, but March is really, really busy. And we'll talk about that in a bit, and that's going to give you some information about what's going to be going on the channel over this month. But first, I'd like to talk a little bit about fans and fandom. And I don't really want to go on this rampage about fanboys again, because you've heard everything. But I want to talk about the notion of forced fandom. And it's something that quite a few channels have been doing lately, and I don't think it's very healthy. A lot of channels seem to kind of force this sense of belonging. They even force a moniker upon their viewers. There's some pretty big examples. I don't even want to name them, because there's no point in even getting into the unnecessary drama of it, but become a something today, or join the something or other, which doesn't really mean anything other than I watch this channel. It's odd when you think about it, isn't it? Do I become an HBOer if I watched HBO at some point? What about the ABC Army, the PBS Platoon? And these things don't exist, and yet for some reason they're really popular on YouTube. And I've never really agreed with it, to the point where this whole cynical fleet thing is something I like to shut down wherever possible, because I feel it's obnoxious to other channels when I like a video and then a bunch of people descend on it and say, cynical fleet has arrived, and type all this stuff. It's like, this isn't useful comments. I mean, it just starts fights. It's completely pointless. If you're gonna follow a like and head over to a video that I enjoy, please don't spam that kind of stuff. It doesn't really help anyone. And secondly, again, it's a forced fandom. It's something that kind of came about for no apparent reason, and then there's a small subset of people that have really been trying to force this whole cynical fleet thing, and I don't know why it is. Do people feel a sense of belonging and community because they watch this channel? And if they do, is it really a healthy thing? That's what I'm really worried about. I've seen some larger channels that have had this big fandom, and for the most part, it's been a forced meme fandom from the person that's designed the channel. They've come up with the name, and they've pushed it on people, and then the problem is that a lot of the people that then end up joining that fandom seem to be a bit unbalanced. I've actually got the impression that some of these people are really vulnerable people, and they're looking for a sense of belonging. And I don't think that's a bad thing per se. Everyone's looking to be part of something, but watching a channel isn't really being part of anything. It doesn't apply to any other form of media. I'm not part of a club just because I read a particular newspaper. So why would I be if I watch a YouTube channel? And what happens is they get involved in this false community, as it were, and they become hyper-defensive of the channel they like because they feel that whenever anyone criticizes the channel, they're criticizing them because the channel is a community to them. A channel is something they belong to, even if they really don't belong to anything. I've seen some really, really worrying responses from certain other fan bases, and mine as well, when it comes down to dealing with criticism. And I'm not the kind of person that really should be lecturing on that. I'm a fairly flawed individual when it comes to dealing with criticism. I get a lot of it every day, and I think most YouTube channels do. What I'm bad at is ignoring it. I will happily respond to it. I like to fight people that do that. I get dirty, I get in the mud with everybody else, which is not the right thing to do. This is a piece of advice for anyone that wants to try and run a YouTube channel on a regular basis. Just don't. Man, I think I've got problems, honestly. I talk about vulnerable people, I talk about people with problems. I'm one of those people, I feel. I've been struggling for a long time to figure out a way to deal with the idea that I am putting out a lot of videos to a large audience, and I can't allow myself to be personally affected by what people say on the internet. Because every day there's going to be somebody that hates you, there's going to be somebody that wants to upset you and will go to great lengths to do it. That's just the way of it. That's what happens when you reach this kind of viewer base. And you've just got to deal with that, and you've got to try and move on. But I don't think the way to deal with it is to surround yourself with white knights, is to surround yourself with staunch defenders, with fanboys, with people that you've brought into this sense of community. You don't necessarily deserve them to waste their time and get annoyed defending you. I mean, what right do you have to do that? These are your battles if you choose to engage in them, or you can just choose to ignore them. If you are a stronger person than I, then you will choose to ignore them and just continue with your work. You don't want to be encouraging the attitude that these people should defend you. They should throw themselves down in front of you. They should take a bullet for you on the internet. That's a really unhealthy attitude. I think the best possible relationship you can have with your viewers is just that. Have them be viewers. They watch what they like, and they don't watch what they don't like. And they provide feedback where relevant, and you choose which feedback to listen to, and you choose which feedback to ignore. And over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of really good things that have happened to the channel thanks to viewer feedback. Series that have been created, series that have been cancelled, changes that have been made to the way that videos are structured, the way that videos are recorded, and so on and so forth. That's all very important, and I think it's good to encourage that sort of healthy attitude. But I don't think it's good to encourage the notion that people should basically hang on your every word and should salivate over your opinion or any video that you put out. At the end of the day, we make videos on YouTube, we're not saving the planet. And most of us are pretty content just to make videos on YouTube. That's pretty much what we want to do now. And that's where we see our career being for the foreseeable future. Some people want to go into television, some people want to do movies, and so on and so forth. Some people are simply using YouTube as a stepping stone to a future career. For me, this is really what I want to do. It's a great place where you can produce whatever media you want, and you can build an audience based on the strength of your content. And that, I think, is what's happened over the last couple of years. People have come to watch the content has kind of spoken for itself, and the audience has gradually grown at a reasonable pace. And I think that's something that I'm very proud of, because this channel has tried, for the most part, to avoid bandwagons and to avoid the notion of being a cult of personality, more so than a lot of other channels end up being. I feel that if you get enough people to like your personality, you can produce pretty much anything and people will watch it. Let's Plays are very, very popular, not because of the games that are being played, which I feel is totally wrong, but because of the person playing them. And it's not about the game anymore, it's about the person playing it. And I never really liked that idea. And for the most part, I've tried to avoid that, and I've tried to provide some information, some critique, some analysis where relevant, and some discussion of what's going on in the games industry right now, because I don't think there's a huge number of channels that really do that, and I think we've been pretty damn successful, quite frankly. Am I grateful to the people watching? Absolutely. There's no real question about that. Without those people, this would not be a job. So this is the reason that I thank people at the end of every video for watching, because at the end of the day, time is perhaps the most valuable resource that we all have, and you elected to spend some of it watching a video of mine, and that is a big compliment. That's very humbling. The people that subscribe to this channel and watch the content regularly have chosen to watch long-form videos that are often very wordy, they're not very funny. I don't really do humor all that well. Occasionally I have a spark of silliness and it works pretty well, but for the most part I do my stuff serious, straight up, and it's mostly about information, it's mostly about delivering opinion, fact, and discussion. And since people subscribe to that, that obviously means that there's a market for it. And that's cool. That gives me a little bit of hope for YouTube going forward, considering we have a world full of Let's Plays and a world full of silly, sort of shallow content that's bite-sized and doesn't really require a lot of thought, and yet a channel like this, which has got these big, wordy, hour-long videos about games, apparently that can work too. And you guys are a big part of that, so thank you very much. Now, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in March. If you're watching this video right now, it probably means I'm on a plane, or at least have gotten off the plane. Thank God, I hope I'm off the plane by now. And I'm in Dallas for a few days to take part in the Major League Gaming tournament there. I'm going to be casting StarCraft 2 and PlanetSide 2. So just in case you thought that I'd given up on PlanetSide 2, absolutely not. So I'll be involved in both of those things. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't cast StarCraft in a little while. Obviously, the tournament scene has been not so much dying down a bit, but it's been a little bit quieter around January and February, mostly because it's a transition through to Heart of the Swarm. It's going to be the first big American Heart of the Swarm tournament, so I'm very, very happy to be involved in that. I'll be casting alongside people like Husky StarCraft, who you very well might know, and is going to get some thanks a little bit later on when we go through the people that have really helped to make this channel what it is. Also, of course, Day 9, who you may have seen before. People like Axel Toss, Axslav, DJ Wheat, and many other great casters will be involved. There will, of course, be League of Legends. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 will be on display there, as well as PlanetSide 2, and, of course, StarCraft. So it's going to be a fun event. If you happen to be coming to MLG Dallas, then by all means do say hi. If I'm wandering the hall, that, as far as I'm concerned, is an open invitation to say hi. If I'm striding in a particular direction at a reasonable speed, probably means I'm busy, but don't let that stop you. Please do come up and say hi. We'll probably be running a signing session like we do at every MLG. Basically, all the casters do that, and that's an opportunity for us to meet the viewers as well as sign stuff, take photos. So by all means, feel free to come along to that. I will happily take photos, sign whatever you want, and so on and so forth. Now, after that, I'll be home for a couple of days and then immediately flying out to Boston for PAX East. This is going to be a big deal for us, as it always is with any major expo, because we will be filming a lot. We've recently invested around $6,000 in new convention gear, which is hopefully going to provide a significantly better experience for anyone watching the videos. Better sound quality, better video quality, and all that good stuff. I think we currently have 28 appointments for PAX East, with a lot more coming in. So I'm going to be providing footage from there. It's going to be the usual convention format, which is mostly me and a developer. We may also do some duo commentaries. Zook's going to be there for the first time, so we're actually going to have the entire Cynical Brit team, all three of us. We are going to be there doing coverage of all sorts of new games, as well as interesting indie stuff, interviews, and all of that. We will also be doing the TGS Podcast live for the first time. We're going to have a TGS Podcast panel, which you can actually come and see. It is going to be on Saturday at 5 o'clock in the Wyvern Theatre. Needless to say, it's free to come and watch, so by all means do come along. It'll be myself, Jesse, and Dodger. We'll be on for about an hour. We will be recording the actual panel itself, so don't worry about that. If you are not able to come along, then you will be able to watch it on the TGS channel at a slightly later date. And from there, we'll be immediately going to Vegas. Now, the plan was to go and cast IPL 6. I was actually contracted to go and cast that tournament. But that's not happening anymore. Unfortunately, our plane tickets and things are non-refundable. So we are going anyway. One, because Zook really wanted to go to Vegas. And two, because this gives us a couple of days to really sit down and actually get these videos encoded. Since we're going to be recording a huge amount of content at PAX, it's unlikely that we're going to be able to encode it all while we're there. So we're going to take laptops over to Vegas. We're going to encode Obviously, we're going to have a little bit of fun and wind down as well. We might record a little bit of content there. I know you guys wanted to see some gun shooting, and that's something we definitely want to do. Go shoot some machine guns in Vegas, so we'll probably do a video of that. But we're going to have a lot of content to upload, so that's going to hopefully be keeping you guys occupied. It does mean, of course, that while I'm at PAX, the content will be reduced. I'll be doing a daily roundup on camera, which will tell you about everything that I've seen, so that's basically like a content patch for every day at PAX. And there will be a little bit of content while I'm away at MLG Dallas, but there will be some noticeable gaps in the channel, which will hopefully be compensated by a hell of a lot of convention content over the next few weeks towards the end of March going into the beginning of April. So that's what my schedule looks like in March right now. Now, a couple of channel things before I go on to the major thanks, which I think is quite frankly necessary when you're dealing with something like a big arbitrary milestone. Channel stuff. Why do I own? Canceling it. Why? It sucks. I read your feedback, and I believe your feedback was correct, saying that essentially the series served little more purpose than to play some bad games that didn't even deserve coverage and just sit there crapping on them, essentially. And even though we're on cynicalbrit.com, apparently that doesn't work for people. Alright, cool. Doesn't work for people. We won't do it anymore then. And pretty much, I agree. I didn't like playing those games anyway, because they sucked ass. I tried to do a couple more episodes after Pound of Ground, and it just did not work. It wasn't funny, it wasn't insightful in any way, it was a waste of time. So it's canned, it's done. Not doing that series anymore. Gotta replace it. Something a little bit better. Something not so much with a more positive light on it, but better for recommending alternative games. I haven't really come up with a name for it yet. I'm sort of tossing names around, trying to come up with something snappy. Cool thing about WTF is that it's just a great name. It's a fantastic name. Love that name for the series. Really snappy, really to the point, very descriptive. But coming up with names like that is kind of difficult, especially considering a lot of people have them already, and you don't make series with the same name as other people. So that gets you into trademark trouble. But I was thinking of something along the lines of don't play X, play Y, something along the lines of what's the alternative, something instead, and so on and so forth. And the idea being to present alternatives to fairly recent games, and maybe those games are good, maybe they aren't. Like, I want to present the alternative to, say, Aliens Colonial Marines, and that could be AVP 2000, hell, it could be AVP 2010, even that was a better game. Stuff like SimCity, you know, what's the alternative to SimCity? Well, something like Tropico 4, for instance. And I could do a big video on why I think Tropico 4 is a really good game, and also where it falls down and what future games in that series could actually accomplish. I think that's a pretty good idea. So I'm thinking about replacing Why Do I Own with something along those lines. I think that would just be a better series for everybody. A lot of people keep asking about, this is why we can't have nice things. I like that show, and the numbers are great on it, but it's really hard to find a game that actually suits the criteria of that particular show. It's a show about games that didn't do very well, but deserved to. And that's pretty hard, especially considering a lot of those are now kind of famous. It's like, oh yeah, let's do it on Psychonauts. Like, who the hell hasn't done a video about Psychonauts? Let's do it on Beyond Good and Evil. God damn it, you know, these are really, really well-known games already. They became famous because they deserved to do better than they did. And I want to showcase games that didn't. And that's hard to do. Stuff like, say, Metal Fatigue, very hard to get running properly on a modern operating system. A lot of other games like that, too. So it's a tough series, and I want to do more of it. I really do. I like the concept a lot. But it's difficult to find games that actually find the time to properly research the history, and some of that history is very hard to find, too. We're talking about companies that don't necessarily even exist anymore, and the dissolution of those companies and the actual market forces surrounding the launch that caused the problems. This is just not documented. And you've got to kind of do a lot of research, and sometimes you just won't find anything without actually going to the source of the people who are responsible for those games. And those people can be tough to get in touch with. So I'll think about it. It certainly seems like something worth doing. Now, thanks. Thanks must be done. I want to thank some very specific people. At the end of the day, I thank you guys at the end of every video. And I'll thank you guys at the end of this video as well, just as I always do. That's not really an automated response for me. I think that thanking someone for watching and taking time out is the minimum level of respect that you can show your viewers. And I hope that you understand that that thank you represents my gratitude for you watching this content and for spending your time with me rather than with my competition. But I'd like to thank some very specific people. First one, of course, being Husky Starcraft, who is essentially responsible for my YouTube career. Husky pulled me out of the fire. I don't know if you know this, but the story goes, I was working at a financial advisory for about a year and a half. The recession hit. Half of the staff got cut, including me. Annoyingly enough, I was cut about 2 weeks before I would have had the seniority to get proper severance pay. I got a month's worth. That was it. And I was cast out on my ass. Money wasn't good back then. A lot of the money was going overseas to basically make sure that my wife and kid were okay, and we were in a bad way. Husky pulled my ass out of the fire there. He was one of the founding members of the game station. He got me partnered and essentially allowed me to achieve my dream, which was to make content on the internet. Yeah, it's not a big dream, is it? But I always dreamed of being involved in gaming media in some way, and YouTube gave me the opportunity to do everything that I personally wanted to do, without any restrictions, without anyone looking over my shoulder. And that's a great gift, and he's responsible for that, so I'm very, very grateful. Which means that if you insult him, I'll rip you to pieces. Sorry, that's just how it goes. Second person I would like to thank is the other person that is essentially responsible for my success, and that is my wife, Jen. I want to thank her for pushing me into this. She was responsible for encouraging me to go solo with CynicalBrit.com, which was my podcast hub, which was very successful, and also the one that pushed me into doing YouTube videos and had a very forward-thinking attitude. Back then, I didn't believe that video content was even worthwhile. I thought podcast was the purest form, and I would never want to leave doing just podcasts. And she pushed me away from that, and she pushed me into video, and as a result, I have the success that I do today. So she's very forward-thinking, very intelligent, very organized individual, and of course, she runs the company. I'd also like to thank her for her determination actually sticking with me through, oh man, I guess it would have been about 4 years of separation. A few weeks ago, I got my green card, which was the end to a very long saga, which started in 2008, when I was denied entry to the country, and started a good few years of my life that I don't really want to remember. I was separated from my wife, and it was a lonely time. It was a pretty low part of my life. Thankfully, that's now over, and we can look forward to the future without having to worry, which is in itself a great gift. So I'd like to thank her, of course, for everything that she's done. Other people to thank, of course, would be Zook, who is, as you're well aware, our PR guy. He also does content on his channel, Zook Does Stuff, and he is responsible for the day-to-day maintenance of this channel. He uploads my videos. We have a not so much a complex system, but an efficient system whereby things are encoded and automatically uploaded to an FTP overnight. Then he pulls the videos and uploads them and tags them. So that takes a great deal of strain off me so I can concentrate on the content. And he's done a fantastic job as a PR guy, getting us a lot of games. He's responsible for pretty much all of the really big videos that happened last year when we're showing games that aren't out yet. That's all him. He does all that. He does a great job. Looking forward to finally meeting him at PAX East. I'd also like to thank our previous PR fellow, who of course goes by the name of Frank Doctor. He did a great job as well, and is now working for a games company, so congratulations to him. Big thank you as well has to go to the Yogscast. We had a nice symbiotic relationship. If you don't know, I actually recruited the Yogscast to the game station, and I'm very happy for their success. I mean, how could I not be? I basically recruited our biggest channel. It's so great to see them doing well. And I might not like their content because, hey, I don't care about Minecraft and Let's Plays, but they put a lot of work into it. They set up an entire office. They set up a company. They got a lot of people jobs. You know, they are job creators, for God's sake. They have a studio, and they've donated so much money to charity and just been a generally positive force within the games industry. So I'd like to thank them for everything they've done for me, as well as for the community and for their viewers. And look forward to hopefully doing some collab work with them again in the future. Also, big thanks to Jesse Cox and Dodger. Both of them have been great friends, really from the start of the game station. We were all founding partners. I recruited Jesse to the game station. Husky recruited Dodger. and we've been friends for a long time. And hopefully that will continue. They're both great content creators in their own right, and they both, of course, co-host the Tgs Podcast with me. So I'd like to thank them for their contribution and being just generally awesome people. Wish them every success, and thank you for tolerating my bullshit on the Game Station Podcast. Big thanks have got to go out to the Game Station themselves, including David Sievers, as well as Nathan Katada and Darius, who is responsible for a lot of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, saving my ass, going to bat for me against YouTube BS and all that good stuff. They've done a solid job, and at the end of the day, I wouldn't have just re-signed a contract for another 2 years with the Game Station if I didn't believe they were a good network. As far as I'm concerned, they are the best network, and I expect great things from them going forward. I'd also like to give a big shout out to the guys over at the Something Awful Let's Play forum, not least Slow Beef. These guys are responsible for my initial video content, the Let's Play Shining Force 3 series. They gave me a ton of really good advice that actually got me started here, and I have to attribute at least part of my success to them, and their always fair, if somewhat blunt criticism. Sometimes the best kind of criticism is blunt and to the point. And I'd also like to give mention, of course, to all of the developers that provided games to be covered on this channel. Without talented developers coming up with great creative ideas, we just wouldn't have content for the channel at all. And we should always appreciate those guys and keep in mind that these are the guys who are willing to put their creation under the gun in order to be critiqued by some random guy on the internet. We're talking about years of their life poured into games that may then be torn apart in 15 minutes by some guy that thinks is important on YouTube. They've done a great job, they really have, and they've made this channel as diverse as it is. PC gaming is thriving right now, and as a result, this channel is thriving too. And that is, of course, their responsibility. They did all of that. I always remember every time I get an email from a developer that's thankful for the coverage that we gave them on WTF Is, I've got a signed print from the dot clock and the toasted sandwich of time people that's mounted to my wall. I've got posters from the guys from No Time to Explain. I even have an email from someone who I don't want to embarrass on air who basically said, well, thanks to your video, I was able to pay my mortgage and I wasn't foreclosed on. And that's a really, really good feeling. I think I've been given a really unique opportunity to provide the kind of promotion and the kind of backup to people making really cool games that hasn't necessarily existed in the past. And there are more and more channels popping up that are willing to do that. This is a good time for the industry. This is a time when marketing is eventually going to step aside and will be replaced by the idea that if you make a good product, then people with influence will turn around and tell the world. And your product will be successful on the basis of your talent, the basis of your creativity, and the basis of your blood, sweat, and tears, not on the basis of your marketing budget. My dream is to have that happen. My dream is to have the traditional model abolished and to be part of an industry that rewards good practice. And I think that this channel is a small part of that, and that's exactly what we're going to continue to fight for as we continue into the future with youtube.com/cynicalbrit. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for sticking with me. There's guys here that have listened since WoW Radio, and then there's guys that just subscribed today. You're all equally valuable, and you all make this channel possible. I hope to provide you the content that you want in future, and to not waste your time. Onward and upward. My name's been TotalBiscuit. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Emble on.
The other fellow's bottom tower. Nothing but fragments down.
Shaky.
That top tower of yours ain't doing so good.
Smash you down. Taste my cudgel.
Somebody's on a roll.
Leap ahead. Charge. Right on.
Going for broke.
Meet in battle. Split wide. Feel the chaos. Gallop. Indeed. Little consequence. Ahead, Armageddon. I cast you aside. Armageddon, where did you go? My shield and blade. Hitherto. Through your bases. Right on.
The other fellas disown their mid-tower.
Leap ahead. Right. Yeah. Emble on. I'll shoot my steel. I'm under attack.
Somebody's cooking.
That was a shock.
The other fella's top tower had a little accident. There goes the other fella's mid-rags. The other fella's mid-rags is done. That's the way.
Giddy up.
The other fellas couldn't save their top tower. Real nice.
Charge.
The other fella's top rags is done for. That did it for the other fella's top rags.
From other planes. I come.
There goes one of the other fella's mid-towers. The other fella's aiming to wreck your bottom tower. The other fella's lost a mid-tower. Just like that. Your bottom tower ain't long for this world.
Armageddon comes.
Going for broke. They're meaning to smash that bottom tower of yours.
It was worth it.
A chaotic path.
Your bottom tower ain't long for this world. Your bottom tower's toast. Wish there was better news.
Meet in battle.
Yet again.
And we're back. Might want to check your bottom tower.
Path. By drought and blade. Heart of Tanakas heals me. Yes. Where ride the horsemen, death shall follow. Another falls before my wounds. My shield and blade. Ramble on. Surge!
That's 4 in a row.
Yes, your flesh achieves a lower state of warrior.
Dyer's done it again. You done good.
Chaos reigns forever.
A grand prize for a grand battle.